I don't hold any world records, but if there was a prize for the person most harassed by an HOA over a dock in a single summer, I'd be a top contender. This isn't a tale that ends with a shouting match, though. It wraps with a viral Amazon listing, a lake put up for sale, and a group of HOA bigwigs watching their power slip away like leaves in a storm. My name's Ethan Harper, though most folks call me Ethan, a 34-year-old software engineer working remotely from the house my grandparents built in 1962. I live beside a serene, private lake nestled within my family's 12-acre slice of paradise I inherited in 2019, complete with Mirror Lake and the dock my grandfather hammered together with his own hands. The HOA thought they could claim that water with a flimsy letter. They figured I'd cower when they threatened to revoke community access. Big mistake. They had no clue I held a document that, with one signature, could unravel their entire world. The trouble started on a quiet Tuesday in late June, when a letter from the Silver Pines Homeowners Association slid under my door. Gold embossed, it screamed pretension, and its contents marked "Notice of Violation" in bold red made my blood boil before I'd finished my coffee. It claimed I was misusing shared dock facilities and demanded compliance with community access protocols within 72 hours or face escalation. My dock, built on my land, maintained by my family for decades, was suddenly community property. I was baffled. I called the number on the letterhead and got Margaret Langley, HOA president, whose voice dripped with the icy authority of someone used to getting her way. "Mr. Harper," she said, "I trust you've seen our notice about the dock situation." I explained, calmly, that the dock was on my private property, built long before her HOA existed. Her pause was heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. "Mr. Harper," she replied, her tone colder, "water access in this community falls under HOA management. Your family history doesn't override our 2010 agreement." She spoke of flexible property lines and community welfare, dismissing my legacy like it was a childish whim. Her words didn't add up, and as a software engineer, I know to debug from the source when something smells off. I thanked her and hung up, my gut telling me this was no simple mix-up. That evening, standing on the dock where my grandfather taught me to fish, I felt his words echo. "This land's a responsibility, son." I knew I had to dig deeper. In my grandfather's old safe, among faded tax records, I found a folder labeled "Property Important." Inside was a 1962 easement agreement, its yellowed pages detailing how my grandfather granted neighbors conditional road access across our land. The kicker? I could revoke that access if they abused or coerced me. This meant the entire HOA neighborhood relied on a road I could legally shut down, landlocking their fancy homes. My hands shook as I read my grandfather's handwritten notes. Protect the family. Maintain control. He'd foreseen a day like this, arming me with a legal weapon I hadn't known existed. But the rabbit hole went deeper. Buried in my mailbox, I found a 3-month-old county filing from Margaret claiming my dock was abandoned community infrastructure, ripe for HOA control. Worse, she'd hired Pineview Assessment Company to evaluate my waterfront for development potential. This wasn't about a dock, it was a calculated land grab. My blood ran cold, but my grandfather's foresight gave me a trump card. I could cut off their road access. I didn't act rashly, though. Margaret thought she held all the cards, and I'd let her believe that while I planned my move. 2 days later, I caught 3 suited men with survey equipment on my property, snapping photos of my dock and peering into my windows. Their leader, Paul Kim from Pineview, handed me a court order signed by Judge Edward Langland, Margaret's husband, authorizing a preliminary assessment of my disputed land. The audacity floored me, but I stayed calm, recorded the exchange, and demanded they leave. They complied, but not before Kim suggested I cooperate to avoid complications. That night, Margaret called an emergency HOA meeting to address my disruptive behavior, expecting me to grovel. Instead, I showed up with my property deeds and the easement agreement, hinting at my power to revoke road access. The room buzzed with unease as neighbors realized their homes depended on my goodwill. Then came a call from Sarah Bennett, a Denver attorney whose parents lost their lakefront property to Margaret's tactics in 2018. Sarah revealed Margaret's decade-long scam, targeting valuable properties, filing fake disputes, and strong-arming owners into cheap settlements. 7 families had been fleeced, with Judge Langley's rulings ensuring Margaret's wins. Sarah's research uncovered recordings of Margaret plotting with Pineview Development Corporation, where Judge Langley held a 40% stake. My easement agreement was Margaret's blind spot. She hadn't researched my property's unique protections. Sarah saw my leverage as a chance to dismantle Margaret's empire. I decided to play Margaret's game, letting her think she'd won. I demolished my dock, posting "No trespassing" signs to signal surrender. Margaret watched from her window, smug. Then I listed Mirror Lake on Amazon for $2.8 million, hyping it as a resort development opportunity with exclusive road access rights. The listing exploded online, shared thousands of times with hashtags like Lake for Sale. Neighbors panicked, fearing plummeting property values. Margaret called another emergency meeting, her notice dripping with fury, accusing me of destructive actions. I'd baited her perfectly. At the Pack Community Center, Margaret unleashed a tirade, threatening lawsuits and hinting at federal charges for waterway violations. I let her rant, then stood, carrying a folder thick with evidence. "Mrs. Langley," I said, "this community deserves the truth about your land-stealing scheme." I revealed her recorded calls with Pineview, Judge Langley's financial ties, and my power to revoke road access, rendering their homes worthless. Gasps filled the room. Margaret's face drained of color, but she tried one last bluff, claiming I'd face EPA charges. I smiled, pulling out EPA correspondence confirming her illegal construction violations, exposed after my own report weeks earlier. Then I dropped the bombshell. The Amazon listing was fake, a trap to make Margaret overplay her hand. The crowd turned on her, their trust shattered. I gave Margaret an ultimatum: resign, compensate her victims, dissolve Pineview Development, and return stolen properties, or I'd revoke road access and Sarah would file federal corruption charges. Her whispered resignation was barely audible. Weeks later, Judge Langley retired amid investigations. The 7 victimized families were compensated, Pineview was dissolved, and a new HOA board prioritized transparency. I rebuilt my dock, blending my grandfather's design with modern touches, and opened the lake for scheduled community use under fair terms. The Amazon listing remains, now priced at $3.5 million, its description a testament to defeating corruption. Proceeds would fund legal aid for HOA victims. Margaret underestimated me, but she also misjudged my grandfather's legacy. Justice isn't always swift, but with patience and preparation, it's unstoppable. If you've faced similar battles, share your story. Your fight might spark another's courage.